The following takes place between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. Event secure.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. It's FPC Radio Live. It's Thursday. That's right, Thursday. July something or other. Who knows? Who cares? It's July. Nothing really going on in terms of sports and everything like that. Actually, no, I lied. There is some things going on with sports. That's right. The NHL is getting ready for their expansion draft coming up here in just a few days. Regular draft, free agency. The NBA is still in the middle of their final series. And, of course, baseball is in full swing. That's right. Little pun action to start the morning. And just to distract you from the fact that, no, that is not Mike Debate. He has not grown a beard overnight. That is our guy, Kyle Senra, sitting in the co-host spot as Mike shovels his way out of torrential flood waters. But no, we are going to be here for the next 36 minutes or so to talk some football. We're going to talk some baseball. We're going to talk some hockey and whatever the hell else comes across our mind. So, Kyle, how you doing today, my friend?
Great to be here, Ian. Sorry that Mike's not here. Hope everything's okay, Mike. We're thinking about you. We won't think about you too hard, though. But we're thinking about sports hard. But yeah, happy to be here. Happy everyone. I know it's been a while since I've been on FPC Radio Live, so glad to be back. Taking turns around the ice. I'm going with the hockey theme. I wore the hockey shirts. I feel like a hockey mood today for some reason.
I already made the baseball pun, so it's all right. We've hit 2 out of the 4 sports so far today. Yeah, like I said, it kind of works out well that you're on the show today because, you know, we're 12 days away from specifically Packers training camp, but for the most part, NFL training camps are getting ready to open across the league in the next 10 to 13, 14 days or so. So very important that we talk about, of course, the second best quarterback in the league, Aaron Rodgers, and we'll do that here in just a minute. I do want to talk about another quarterback, though. We're gonna cross promote here. We're gonna cross sport here. We're gonna really dive into this. What I actually missed this during the All-Star game. If you listened to the show yesterday, I said, you know, I was half paying attention to the MLB All-Star game. It was on. I was watching it. I was kind of tuning in at certain points. I did not see the beginning, so I missed the opening pitch or the first pitch, and it just happened to be former Broncos great Peyton Manning throwing out the first pitch. And if you haven't seen it, I'm going to play it here for you all right now. So just hang tight. Oh. Sure that wasn't Aaron Rodgers in the NFC Championship game down late, bouncing a ball off the ground? No, that was Peyton Manning. Really looked right in 2015 form. No, okay, I didn't start the segment with the plans of trashing on Peyton Manning. It's all in good fun, but no,
it just comes naturally anyway.
It's a natural. It's a habit that I fall back on. I can't help myself. You throw it out there, I'm going to take my jabs. But no, look. First pitches are. Well, Mike and I have talked about them here on this show many times before. Whether it's celebrities, whether it's athletes, whether it's musicians, it doesn't matter. It's one of the hardest things to do. Look, I want to figure that, you know, maybe I'd go up there and have no problem throwing a first pitch right down the middle. Not a problem, you know, straight, you know, throw strike, walk out the field, not an issue. But it's not.
I'm trying to point at you. Yes, you would do well. I wouldn't. I would do horrible.
Well, I look. I don't even know if I would do well because, like, here's the thing. And I meant to turn that volume off. But anyways, we got some quarterback first pitches being played up on the screen here. So just enjoy that while we talk, because these are supposed to be the best throwers, best arms in the world outside of actual pitchers, you know, these quarterbacks, so everything like that. So it's not that easy. It's really not that easy. I mean, look, we've seen we've seen first pitches far worse than Peyton Manning. And Peyton, Lamar Jackson, that wasn't bad. That was actually pretty
probably
good.
Still depends on the umpire. That might have been a ball, but you know that.
Well, here's right. Well, okay.
Wow.
Well, Russell Wilson's a baseball player, like obviously. So if he throws a strike, I'm not going to give him any credit.
He better make it. He was drafted. Like team actually invested capital in to be a baseball player. So he better damn be able to put it. Although, was he a pitcher though? I thought he was an outfielder when the Rangers drafted him. Again, not with the ever intention of him ever playing. But
it doesn't matter. Oh wow! Yeah, that looked.
Of course, Mahomes oversails it. That makes sense.
Super Bowl. That looked like a Super Bowl. Okay, now it's just tempting me to go in on all this because
actually, his dad's a baseball pitcher. He should have done better.
To be fair, that was actually really good. Aaron Rodgers did a good job on this one. Yeah, see, look at that. See, you know what he did though? He was smart. He took it easy.
Yeah,
nice and slow. And he didn't force it. See Kaepernick, it looked like he was trying to hit high heat up top corner and almost.
To be fair, that looked like a Colin Kaepernick NFL pass.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
He's strong arm oversailing a little. Not to say that he's horrible, but did have a tendency to miss high when he was playing. So.
Oh my God, that was better than Peyton's, and he had his daughter.
I mean. Yeah, I know, right? That's pressure there. That's where the real pressure is, not dropping the baby. So you don't even care where the ball goes. So again, maybe that's the key: is not put too much pressure on yourself to do this.
Here's the main event right here. Okay, that was actually probably worse than Peyton Manning. So whatever, though. The best part about this, though, and I feel bad for the folks that are just listening to this right now and actually not watching this. We're just reacting to a video.
We should have done closed captioning.
Yeah, closed captioning. That's right. The Brady one that came after, and if you didn't realize it, there's a huge clue as to when that Super Bowl, because there's so many Super Bowl wins. It's so hard to pinpoint which one that was.
Let me get my magnifying glass. Conspiracy theory.
That was following the 2014 victory over the Seattle Seahawks, which was his fourth Super Bowl victory. And like I said, if you don't have the privilege of watching us right now or seeing us on the screen, you will see that he walked out with a big shirt with a 5 on it. Now, tell me that's not a coincidence, because it's not. I mean, very clearly, okay, I'm going for number 5. And, the Atlanta Falcons know a couple years later that happened. Anyway, so that was actually fun. And like I said, if you didn't have the privilege of watching this, I implore you, go to at Full Press Radio. You'll see the replay up there, or whatever. You'll see it on our YouTube channel. Just search Full Press Coverage, and you'll get to see some of that those clips that we were talking about. And at least now, maybe it'll make sense to you. But the bottom line is, it's not an easy thing to do. It's not most of these guys stand in front of the mound anyways. They don't even go to the pitching mound, and again, you can see that, maybe the quarterback's higher percentage of pretty good first pitches, I would say. But we've seen some really, really, really bad ones. Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, Baba Booey.
Yeah, that was.
A couple really bad ones that come to mind.
Which again, non-athletes, right? So
yeah, well,
but yeah, thinking back, Mahomes probably had the worst one, especially considering who his father is. But I mean, clearly a better football player than baseball player. So thankfully for that, I don't think I want to see Patrick Mahomes as a baseball player.
However, I would say that one of my biggest, I guess. I hate saying the word criticism, because it's really not meant as a criticism. It's more or less a realistic point of view, or realistic look, is that he's not as ridiculously accurate as people want to make him out to be, and people are having a tough time reconciling that, and I've seen them struggle with that when I bring it up, and we saw it in the Super Bowl. We've seen it over times. It doesn't mean he can't make a tight, accurate pass. It doesn't mean he's not one of the better, more accurate passers in the league. But, relative to guys, like I said, I've mentioned earlier, Aaron Rodgers is the second best quarterback in the league. I think people by now probably know who I'm consider the best quarterback in the league.
Russell Wilson, obviously.
Yeah. Well, maybe for the first.
But I mean, he's like, even his accuracy, like, it's like not like Mahomes is like a tier above Wilson in terms of accuracy either, right? Like, that's another strong arm accurate quarterback can throw on the run. So
exactly. Well, and I kind of touched on this a little bit, and I'm kind of, trying to put my feelings on statistics. Kind of, I'm trying to be more transparent. So I think, perhaps people that most disagree with me will not necessarily come around to what I'm saying, but maybe understand where I'm coming from a little bit more, because I do feel really strongly that analytics, and I'm talking to the fantasy guy, here. So I know you love your analytics, and I'm not trashing analytics. I feel like really specific to football, especially because of the nature of the game, people have just put far too much weight into analytics and ignored what we see in front of our eyes. So people are blinded by statistics. You're going to sit there and say, "Oh, this guy has this, and this." Okay, great. But what does it really tell us? Not much. I mean,
you gotta bring the marriage of both. Use the numbers to help compartmentalize what you're seeing, and kind of use both aspects. I think the best organizations in the NFL. Sorry.
No, that's kind of, and this is what I'm getting at. Like, I look at analytics as more of garnish and maybe a fine sauce that goes on top of a steak. I was telling Mike yesterday, I'm getting really Colin Coward with this comparison crap. But the point being is, you don't order the meal for the garnish. Like, the garnish is nice, and it can add some flavor to it. It can add some maybe perspective. I know this is where the comparison kind of gets a little funky here, because what are you talking about? Compare it. But the point is, like, you want the meat and potatoes. And that, to me, is what you see on the field in the results. Like, there's no way to quantify every nuance of the game of football. It's impossible. So, unless you are someone who literally takes in account every single number available, there's no objective way to use numbers as a way to determine who's better and who's not. And that's how I feel. And I think far too many people are doing that. So when, we get into this conversation about, and we kind of touch again a little bit on this yesterday, Patrick Mahomes has the greatest start ever, and look, he's certainly right up there. He's in that discussion as, okay, if you want to, first off, you got to define what a start is, because it seems to be very loose. Three seasons into the league, I feel like you've kind of lost that start. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't a broke college kid when I was 27 years old. I was just a broke adult at that point. You know what I mean? You don't hang on to that title too long. So, let's just play the game. 3 years, first 3-year start. He's right up there with some really good quarterbacks. And I think that's where the conversation starts. Not about, oh, it's definitely the best ever. Because then, my response is, well, Kurt Warner probably had a better start. And they'll glam onto passer rating, for example, which Mahomes, I think was like 113, 114 in 2018. And which, on a side note, wasn't even the league highest that season. Which was higher than Kurt Warner's. And he threw more touchdowns. Obviously, Warner only threw 41 in that 1999 season. But the point being, in 1999, I brought this up yesterday, 78 was the average quarterback rating. Kurt Warner was 30 points above the league average that season, where he won not only a Super Bowl MVP, but he won the league MVP. And I mean, he just was a dominant player. So when people sit there and say, "What are you talking about, Kurt Warner?" No, Kurt Warner is absolutely in the mix, and likely the front runner for having this best start if we're using this 3-year stretch. Again, assuming that you don't put a lot of weight into 2 Super Bowl wins. So
to be fair, though, I mean, it's the scenario in terms of team success is practically identical, right? Both have been to 2 Super Bowls, only won one. I guess the in-between year, I don't know. I don't think the Rams made the playoffs. So the Chiefs, the year they didn't go to the Super Bowl, they went to the AFC Championship game, lost to the Super Bowl champion Patriots. I'm sure you love that I said that. So
yeah. Well, I enjoyed that. It was good times. Good times then.
But yeah, I think it's an apt comparison, to be fair, Ian. Like, I think like they're really not that far off. So
no,
yeah,
and
to your credit.
And look, and to what I'm trying to accomplish with all this is like, and I you bring up dumb comparisons, you're going to get dumb responses. It's kind of like you ask stupid questions, you're going to get it's same exact concept. You bring up dumb
ESPN found out this week if you make a really stupid segment, you're liable to have someone say even stupider things. So, yes.
And you're going to have one person get on screen apologizing to two different countries for whatever. Anyways, that's not something we're going to get into today. But you put these dumb comparisons out, and we really hammer home this, like, who are you going to take, blah, 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 blah scenario. And it's always Brady, Rodgers, Mahomes. And they ask it every week. And it's like keep Brady out of this and throw in some other guys and have an actual discussion, but it's lazy. That's too hard for most people to have, because then you really have to get into diving into the numbers. So when people ask me, like, what, you don't think Patrick Mahomes is great? No, I think he's a great young quarterback. I just think that he should be talked about among his actual peers and not with Tom Brady. Not right now, because right now you should be talking about him with the young blood quarterbacks. This new era, which is exciting because there's a lot of really good young quarterbacks. Let's talk about him, who I think is very clearly above the rest right now. He certainly is above those guys. But let's also talk about his, contemporaries historically. Aaron Rodgers, Kurt Warner, Dan Marino. We're talking about early starters who had great success early on. All three of those players, just like Patrick Mahomes. That's the appropriate conversation. Not, is he the baby goat? No, absolutely not. Because, guys, I hate to break it to you. It's I can guarantee you, I know you're a numbers guy. I don't have the exact numbers, but I can guarantee you the odds of him going to 0 Super Bowls the rest of his career are far greater than it would be him going to 4 or 5, let alone 10. I mean, this is this is what we're dealing with here. I mean, John Elway at one point held the record for most Super Bowl appearances by a quarterback. You know what that was? 5. Brady
when did Brady end that? Brady ended that, broke that record, what, 2011?
14.
Or 14 would have been his 6th.
He tied it in 2011.
Yeah.
Broke it in 2014. So, and obviously since then has gone to 5 more. So this idea that it's just easy to go to Super Bowls, I think, and I understand it. Fandom, you're excited. If you're a Chiefs fan, you're excited for the future, and I would be too if I was a Chiefs fan. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not trying to dampen, rain on your parade or anything like that. I'm just trying to give us more realistic conversation. So once people realize that, again, I sit here and say, well, if you were going to ask me to put money on something, I would 100% put my money on Patrick Mahomes never going back to the Super Bowl than him going to 5.
5 total or 5 more?
5 total. Because even think about that. Yeah, you think, oh, well, of course, the Chiefs.
2 to 5. Yeah, that's close. I'd say for sure, if you were saying like if for him to equal Brady at 10, yeah, definitely, I would pick that he only ever goes to 2. I think for sure. 5's close. But it's
even that. Think about it. You're debating. It's a possibility, but you're on the fence, and then you have to double that.
No, for sure. I think that I would easily take the 0 then, but because my thing is, I mean, if I had to bet right now, I'd bet the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl this year. So, I don't think he's not going anymore, because I've clearly said that. I mean, I've thought that about Aaron Rodgers too, and I'm still waiting.
Well, and that's the big thing. Again, think about his contempt. Dan Marino, Kurt Warner
never went to 1.
Yeah, Kurt Warner did end up going back, but with a different team. Maybe that's not the case, and maybe Mahomes, has a 10-year drought and makes it back, in his 30s, and that's that. And again, that's a hell of a career, but at the same time, I feel like so many people, not just fans, so many people, commentators, columnists, whatever, have just seen what Brady has done, not only going to Super Bowls at a relative ease, and I'm not saying it was easy, I'm just saying it appears that way, and the longevity. Like, everyone's just like, oh, well, quarterbacks, they're just going to play longer now. Well, I don't think people realize how hard it is, or how ridiculous it is that he is playing at the age that he's playing and at the level that he's playing at. So this started out with kind of a bashing of numbers, and it's still kind of that way because again, people are either just ignoring numbers in the sense of low percentage chance of things happening, and it's not me being a hater; it's just me basing it off the history of the entire league, and of course, glamming onto individual stat numbers and picking and choosing which ones work, which ones don't. Top 10 defense is this, top 10 defense is that. I'll tell you what, if top 10 defenses matter, the Steelers would have won 8 Super Bowls between 2000 and 2010. So, it is what it is.
Why don't the Seahawks have more than one?
Yeah, exactly.
The same reason. The thing to Patrick Mahomes is just, I wonder if, are people trying to play, oh, he's the greatest ever, so they can kind of is it like a self-centered thing? Like, I've witnessed the greatest quarterback ever now, and I'm watching him from the start of his career, right? Like, I think just appreciate it for what it is. I mean, it's incredible. To watch Patrick Mahomes play is truly spectacular. And I don't think you're disagreeing with that at all.
No,
so just enjoy it for that.
Exactly. And I think the problem is, and we've seen it, both of us have seen it play out with Aaron Rodgers' career, that I feel like even Aaron Rodgers is a bit underappreciated because of the ridiculous narrative surrounding him early on. And this was really kind of the early onset of social media and the boom that it had, when he started his career and won his Super Bowl and MVP early on. And, it was the same thing. Oh, at the time it was kind of at least a little bit more manageable because, Brady at that point hadn't won, he hadn't won his 4th Super Bowl. I wouldn't even have put him as the greatest of all time at that point. As big of a Brady honk as I am, I wouldn't have done that. So that was at least real.
You're still thinking Montana autograph at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So,
okay, I am curious. What is the moment Brady became the GOAT for you?
2014. I mean, I know a lot of people
I tend to agree.
Yeah, I mean, it was just the for all the pressure, for all the circumstances leading up to it, the backdrop of Deflategate, and obviously how that, in hindsight, looking back at how ridiculous that was, but everything, the 10-year drought of not winning a Super Bowl, the idea that he could have potentially started his career 3-0 and then ended up 3-3, and then, at that point, I think, you lose that Super Bowl, maybe Brady's departure from New England happens a lot sooner. But you win that Super Bowl, you beat an all-time great team. You do so at the time as the greatest comeback in the history of the Super Bowl. In
10 points, right? 10-point comeback in the 4th quarter.
I mean, obviously that paled eventually in comparison to what we saw a couple years later. But that to me was really the defining moment for me, because at that point it gave him that 4-win tie. But most importantly, he had already been to 2 others. He had the undefeated season. The numbers were there. The MVPs were there. Everything else since has just been icing on the cake. And talk about great icing. 3 Super Bowls, 5 appearances, another MVP, couple of Super Bowl MVPs, which is basically almost another better career than Joe Montana's. Yeah. So
it's better than each of Brady's half careers is better than almost every other quarterback's entire career. So
and that's what we're talking about when it comes to ridiculousness. Mm-hmm. And then when you try to sit here and say a kid in his 3rd season, 1, it's not fair to Brady, and 2, it's not fair to Patrick Mahomes. Like, I'm sure they don't like hearing all this. I'm sure he hates it. Like, imagine, I mean, actually, I don't know him personally. I don't know if he has an ego, whatever. Maybe he loves it. Maybe he eats it up. But, the point is, it's like, it's a lazy, unfair comparison for both. And it just leads to just horrible sports discourse, because there's no way to reconcile it. Like, you ask that question, no one's ever going to agree because it's such a ridiculous question. Like,
and I mean, let's say you do. Where do you go from here? What's next? He's still the greatest. Oh, he's still the greatest. He has a bad season. He's not the greatest anymore, right? So it's
and that's the thing, because like, look, and we haven't even got into our really the now moment. Who's the best quarterback? Because like, again, I feel like, going back to numbers here, people have latched on to 2018, and that's that. There's there isn't any room for debate when it comes to Patrick Mahomes. No, he's the best quarterback in the league. And I say, well, phooey, like logically to me, it doesn't make sense. Now, again, full disclosure, I am a Brady honk. I'm not going to sit there and deny it, but I think it's easy to be a Brady honk when, that's you're trying to make the case for him being the best. And I'm just like, people are talking about, I tweeted this yesterday, everyone's paying attention to the starts. Oh, he has this start. He has this start. Well, Tom has more Super Bowl victories during Mahomes' first 3 years in the league. So what are we even talking about here? So like, we're not even
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
No, we're not even talking about their individual starts in which Tom had more Super Bowl wins during his first 3 years than Mahomes, but he also has more Super Bowl wins during Mahomes' first 3 years as a starter. So
because we're starter, right? We're not counting Mahomes' rookie year or Brady's rookie year where they neither played.
Neither played.
May as well take it up, right? It's equal.
There's no point. Unless you're a Russell Wilson fan trying to latch on to that Russell Wilson has the most wins in his first 9 seasons, which is ridiculous.
Then I think Ben Roethlisberger's second. I don't think anyone out there is saying Ben Roethlisberger's a better quarterback than any of those guys, right? There's the fault in the numbers.
The funny thing, and this is rare. I didn't even plan on bringing this up today, but this just popped in my head. But the whole Russell Wilson thing, we saw it play out during the season. This was kind of a record he was chasing, and I remember seeing it for the first time. I'm like, it doesn't really make sense because I know the Patriots had that 9-7 season in 2002, but the win total doesn't look up. And I go through and I'm like, oh, they're counting 2000 for Brady, a season in which he
played 0 games. So how is he impacting the record?
So you actually look at from the moment they started, I mean, Brady is just so far and above or past those guys. It's silly, but that's again, that's another number manipulation conversation for another day. So,
I'll say I do agree with you that, like, to me, that was the moment that Brady became the greatest, and I think it was the opponent, right? I mean, I play the what if. Like, that Super Bowl to me is one of the most interesting turning moments. What if the Seahawks win that one? You've got Wilson winning back-to-back. This Seahawks defense that went back-to-back Super Bowls by beating Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. I mean, I think we already are kind of talking about that Seahawks Legion of Boom as close to a 85 Bears steel curtain. But like, if they had done that, they might be like the best defense ever. And then, like, does that team stay together? They keep Marshawn Lynch. Like, how much more do they have, right? So like, that's a super interesting what if moment that, the fates of who was the best team that decade might have been flipped by that game result. Now we know, okay, well, the Patriots had 3 Super Bowls that decade, so it's clearly them. But I mean, if it's 2-2 and the Seahawks have the head-to-head win, I might be inclined to say Seahawks in that case. So yeah, interesting.
And again, you there's another theme to the whole, when you talk about Brady's legacy at the end of the day, and you keep kind of adding on to it, the fact that they were the last team, obviously the Patriots, with Brady, were the last team to go back-to-back and win back-to-back titles. But there's been other opportunities. Twice have been thwarted by Tom Brady and the team that he plays on. Seahawks trying to go back-to-back.
Oh, yeah. Seahawks, right. We just talked about it. Like, which other one? Yeah.
The Chiefs. And the only other team that had an opportunity to go back-to-back was led by Tom Brady, and he had an opportunity to do that against the Eagles in Super Bowl 52, the second of 3 straight Super Bowl appearances. So, again, the numbers they're fun, they're exciting, they're great for fantasy football, of course, as you know. But when it comes to quantifying someone's effectiveness, impact on a game, it's impossible. And when you continue to pose questions that have so much garbage in between them, there's no way that these two things are going to be able to connect. You're going to get silly responses, and that's what we have right now with these quarterback debates because they keep asking the same question: Mahomes or Brady, Brady or Mahomes? Well, it's always Brady, and it's not me being like I said, a honk. It's just it's subjective, not subjective. It's objective. It's an objective statement that Brady is just better, and it's not an insult to Mahomes. It's just, I mean, come on, people. Like, we're not even talking about his history. Like, I understand if like people were like, holding on to like him winning his Super Bowls like 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, but like he's doing it
defending champ right now.
Like. it drives me nuts and it drives me batty, and I can't. I don't know.
Do you want to switch to hockey really quick? Because I've some interesting news topics came up hockey wise. If you want to skip to that.
Well, I do want to ask you. I know we the plan was I did want to ask you about Aaron Rodgers. I know we started.
Okay,
that was the point of the transition, and unfortunately we're running out of time, so we're gonna have to save the hockey stuff for now because I like I said, I do want to ask you about Aaron Rodgers, who continues to seem like he's not planning on showing up right on time. This might extend a little bit into training camp. What are your thoughts with it? And ultimately, do you feel like he's going to be the starter week 1, week 5, week 8, or never?
I'd be more inclined to think week 1, if anything, knowing that the game checks are going to be huge, especially at his salary. So I think unless he is planning to hold out for the entire season, thinking like, I don't need the money, because I don't think a trade's really likely anymore. I think the teams that wanted to just like the teams that want to have him just don't have the ammunition.
Well,
I know the Broncos. What do the Broncos really have that the Packers want? Like I'm thinking Jerry Jeudy's probably the best piece, but like if the Broncos get Rodgers, as a Packers fan, I don't want the Broncos first round pick next year because it's probably going to be a late 20 pick. Like what's going to happen there?
What if the Packers have no choice though? What if they've exhausted every option in terms of trying to reconcile all this? Maybe pretend this is the Mahomes Brady debate.
Okay.
There's no way to reconcile this.
So Rodgers refuses to play, and he says, "I'm not playing for you. You either trade me or I'm retiring." If I'm the Packers, I say retire, because then I know this year it's a little tricky, but like I know for next season there's a lot of salary that gets retained and like or doesn't get retained, and so like the Packers cap space opens up pretty drastically if Rodgers decides to retire. I think more so than if they trade him. So from a financial standpoint, it's actually better for the Packers if Rodgers retires than if they trade him. And my thing is, I'd rather see him leave the NFL, never play a game for another team, than they undersell him, that they get pennies back for him. Because I feel at that point, it's the same result. We don't have Rodgers. If the Packers trade away Rodgers, like this, again, this team's been to back-to-back NFC Championship games. This team is ready right now. If they lose Rodgers, they need a quarterback.
Yeah.
So if Broncos want Aaron Rodgers, they don't have a quarterback that's going to be worth it trading for. The one team I can think of right now is probably the Dolphins. If they really aren't sold on Tua, I think I'd rather have Tua than Jordan Love. That would be the only team right now that can make sense.
Or they just see an opportunity, regardless of what they think about Tua, to get Aaron Rodgers, which is if you feel like Aaron Rodgers has a few really good seasons left, and again, that's up for discussion. There hasn't been a noticeable sign of physical decline, and this is something that like I fought back
once the collarbone was healed. I think the last 2018 we saw a bit of weakness in arm strength. I think he needed to fully heal. Yeah,
and that's important. And that's not to say that again I'm not assuming he's going to do what Brady does. That again is going against all conventional wisdom. I'm not doing
even
that.
Assuming he gets another 9.1% touchdown season like last year's, that's a strong assumption that I wouldn't make. So
yeah, exactly. But he still, in my opinion, the second best. I think Brady and Rodgers are very clearly the two best quarterbacks in the league right now, and they have been for the last several years, even through those injuries. Because again, you're not going to be perfect all the time, and that's what people can't understand. It's like, yeah, guess what? Brady
throws interceptions too. But
exactly.
Football is tough, people. Football's really tough to play quarterback at.
Hard to do, and do it consistently well. So that's why, I put so much stock into what guys like Brady and Rodgers have done for so long. But, again, we can't, it is risky to take on a guy like Aaron Rodgers if you have a guy like Tua, because you have to make a big decision. Like, is Aaron Rodgers better than Tua? Absolutely. Is Aaron Rodgers' career going to be better than Tua's? Probably. I mean, there's no reason for me to believe that Tua is going to, be better than Aaron Rodgers.
That standard of get to be Aaron Rodgers level, who I view right now, I think I ranked my top 10 quarterback or top 15 all-time quarterbacks. I have Rodgers at 6. Yeah. Are we saying you really think Tua could be a top 5 all-time quarterback? That's a stretch to me. So.
And again, this is another example of how this is on par with the Brady Mahomes thing. this is how big of a disconnect there is between these two discussion topics. So that's kind of been my theme of the show today, is trying to get people to realize let's get some better topics to discuss so we can actually have some good discussion here. But anyways, I don't want to ramble again. We only have a couple minutes here. You're risking something if you're the Dolphins and you want to try to take on Aaron Rodgers, but it's a risk that I think I would personally make, because if you can get 3 seasons out of Aaron Rodgers, he's 37 now, right? Or he's about to turn 37, correct?
I think he is 37. I think he'll be 38 during the season.
Yeah.
I think he's got like a November birthday, if I remember correctly.
Okay. So basically, have him play until he's 40. That's 3 years of Aaron Rodgers with a Dolphins team that, if they had Aaron, I personally
10
think
wins last year with pretty bad quarterback play. So
I personally think that the Packers are probably his best situation in terms of I don't think he's going to go to a team and drastically improve his situation. But the Dolphins aren't necessarily that big of a stretch in terms of comparables if you were to flip the quarterbacks. And again, and this is putting a lot of stock into the ability of quarterbacks, because guess what? It's an offensive quarterback league, and offenses win championships, not defenses. So,
and it is interesting because my co-host on the Full Press Packers pod, Jesse, we had talked about like right as the draft happened, if Rodgers were to get traded, what are these scenarios looking like? And he had mentioned Miami back then, as one of the likeliest, and Tua being that price. And now we've heard today that Xavier Howard is apparently unhappy with his contract. Yeah. So is that, because I was thinking that too, even if it's not for Rodgers, do the Packers trade for Howard anyway? Because they really need that second cornerback. Kevin King is not cutting it. And while I like the rookie Stokes, you can't just trust a rookie to go in there and expect it, right? So
maybe Howard is
package start Howard and Tua. At that point, I'd probably even be okay sending a mid pick alongside Rodgers, just knowing that you're getting the youth. So I think that that's the only team I could see it with, because I know everyone's been tied to the Broncos, but I'll say it. What do the Broncos have that the Packers want? Maybe Jerry Jeudy, just because the Packers really do need some receivers next year. But people have brought up Bradley Chubb. Honestly, Bradley Chubb on the Packers is the 4th pass rusher. He's not playing ahead of Zadarius Smith, and the way Rashawn Gary really came strong. I mean, Rashawn Gary was only taken 7 picks later than Bradley Chubb. I'll take Rashawn Gary over Chubb right now, just based on what he's seen, based on the fact that Chubb's coming off an injury, and then they kept Preston Smith. So Bradley Chubb to me doesn't scream that strong of a piece. So I think the Dolphins really are the only team that does make sense at this point, because they're the only team capable of giving a quarterback back that the Packers would want. It's I don't want Drew Lock. I'll take Jordan Love over Drew Lock 100 times out of 100. He's already kind of shown. I don't think Drew Lock's as talented as Jordan Love, and I also don't think he's more mature or been in the NFL 2 years. He hasn't really shown that he's learned anything. So
here's the one caveat to that right before we go, and we do have to go.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. No, I was just saying none of it matters if the Packers organization loves Jordan Love. All of a sudden, your way of thinking goes out the window, because now all of a sudden it's not about getting that quarterback in return. I still think, regardless, think the Dolphins would be a good option, because again, you mentioned Xavier Howard, and if you can build your defense up and build around Jordan Love, then if you're the Packers organization, you're pretty happy with that. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Packers start training camp 12 days from now, and we will be monitoring these situations. So, Kyle, thanks for filling in today. Thanks for jumping in, and it was fun to talk quarterbacks. It was fun to talk, NFL. It's getting here. Off season's almost kind of over. So, give us a follow on Twitter at FPC Radio Live, at Full Press Radio. I'm at IGLEN31, and Kyle, of course, is at Senra Says on Twitter. We'll talk to you later. Have a great day, folks.